Okay, so here's some more math you can expect to be doing in college. So if you do know something like this, it's going to be very good at it. This type of math will also get you, like college algebra gets you prepared for calculus. So if you are trying to major in like science, technology, or even in the medical field, you're going to be taking a lot of maths. Even if you're, yeah, technology, yes. You're going to be like programming and all that. You're going to be taking a lot of math. So it's going to be best um, that you kind of get ahead of yourself if that's what you're trying to do in life. But anyway, so let me show you a problem that you'll see in math, and I would say college algebra. So it'll be A equals pi and D squared over 4. It may look complicated, it may look scary, but I promise you it's super easy once you get it, okay? They want you to solve for D, so we're going to be solving for D. That's important. You got to know what you're solving for. Solve for D. The first thing that you want to do is you want to get rid of the division sign here, which is this 4. What are you going to do to get rid of that division sign? All you're going to do is you're going to bring this 4 over here and turn it into multiplication, because the opposite of division is multiplication. So you're going to go 4a. Now you're just left with 4a equals, now it looks easy, don't it? Pi times d squared. What do you do now? You're still trying to get rid of that d. You're going to subtract pi from this side. So we're going to minus pi here from this side. But if you're taking pi away from that side, you have to do the opposite of whatever pi is requiring on the side that it is originated on. Pi d just means pi times d. So it's going to actually become 4a over the opposite of this multiplication, pi. So it's going to become 4a over pi, and I don't like to put the equals because we're not at the end yet, equals, okay, where are we at? There we go. Equals d squared. Okay, and we can put our steps here. So I like to say the problem is step 1. Analyze your problem. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Analyze your problem. Do what you just analyzed the first. Step 3. Okay, so now we've made it to step 4, and I'll try to be a little bit more neater this time. Here's our step 4. After you do that, you're going to end up with that d squared. You can't have that squared with the d because you're trying to solve for d, not trying to solve for d squared. Now, if it said solve for d squared, then you'll have 4a over pi equals d squared, but it didn't tell you that, now did it? It says solve for d, which means that you have to get rid of this squared symbol here. All you have to do to get rid of that squared symbol is to bring it over and square the entire fraction by just square the entire fraction. And what you're going to end up with is d equals the entire fraction squared, 4a over pi. Okay, we have another problem here. You can't square an entire fraction. That's not rational. So they call it rationalizing the denominator, because you don't want that denominator squared. You just want the top squared. You don't want the whole fraction squared, okay? Because the answer is not the whole. D is not going to equal the entire fraction squared. D is only going to equal the numerator squared. So your step 5, and we're going to break these steps up so you won't confuse them. Okay. In your step 5, and I'm going to show you how you rationalize the denominator. We're just going to put, actually we can do it. We can put the whole thing here. Okay. For this video's sake. We're going to put this over 4a over pi. And to rationalize this, we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. So the denominator, which is the bottom of the fraction, is pi. So we're going to multiply 4a over pi times pi over pi. You remember when you multiply with multiplication in junior high or high school, depending on wherever you went to school at, you know that when you're multiplying a fraction, you basically just multiply across, but you want to make sure that the bottom, the denominator, is the same. So because the denominator here is both pi, we're going to know that d is going to be equal to 4 pi a over pi. It's not going to be pi squared. Do not multiply pi times pi. Don't do that. Instead, remember what you learned in high school. If the denominator is the same, that's a common denominator. So because it's already in a common form, a common denominator, the denominator is going to stay the same in that multiplication problem. Okay, think of your common denominators. And then your answer is going to be, don't forget to square your top, because we're only rationalizing the denominator. The denominator is the only one that shouldn't be squared. So you want to make sure that you include the square symbol at the top of your fraction, and you have your pi at the bottom. And the answer to the question, and I could put down here, I should have put it in green. Here's your answer. Here is your answer. D equals 4 pi a squared over pi.